Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa and I have finally made it to the last chapter of Zachary K. Hubbard's latest book. That is chapter 19 of Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus. And this is the gentleman responsible for writing this book. And my name is Vanessa. The name of this channel is called Gnostic Knowledge. And what I am doing on this channel and have been doing on this channel is sharing the knowledge of gematria via books written by Zachary K. Hubbard. His first book was entitled, or is entitled, Letters and Numbers, which I have completed reading on this channel. And you can listen to the chapters 1 through 22. And his latest book I have read from chapter 1 to chapter 18, and now I have arrived at chapter 19. His books are about gematria. Gematria is the encoding of numbers within our letters and words. Every word we speak has a numerical value. And the more you delve into what gematria is, the more you read about his work, the more you either listen to the videos or his videos, the more you understand what gematria is, the more clearly you will see this alphanumeric code in play. And it is in play right now. It has been in play for thousands of years. It is just freaking amazing. But the information goes without saying. It is something that you can prove every single day. But at the end of this reading session, I will definitely tell you how to get Zachary K. Hubbard's books. Because, yeah, this information is phenomenal. Okay, so I am at chapter 19. And it is entitled, What Happened to Me in Room 201 in New Orleans. Alright. At the beginning of 2020, great supporters of my work helped raise funds to pay for me to travel to the state of Louisiana for the purpose of educating the students of LSU and the people of the region about the very terrible rituals that took place just before LSU won the college football championship in New Orleans, January 13, 2020, defeating Clemson. Okay? Of course, the purpose of educating about such matters is so that people have an opportunity to become aware of the evil that is close to home, something that is true for most of us, so that we can do something to correct the problem. If you're curious about the topics I educated on, they involved the deaths of numerous people connected to the January 13th championship game, including Billy Cannon, who passed the same day Joe Burrow transferred to LSU, and Nancy Parker, a New Orleans news anchor who died on August 16, 2019 in a curious plane accident. As I taught people, her demise came precisely 150 days before LSU won the 150th college football season in Nancy's hometown, New Orleans. Further adding to the ritual was that her name, Nancy Parker, equated to 54, the same as New Orleans, and the date LSU won the championship in the same city was a date with 54 numerology, which was January 13th, 2020, and you would add 1 plus 13 plus 20 plus 20 equates to 54. In addition to that, I pointed out to them Parker's death came 2 days before the death of the 54th governor of Louisiana, Kathleen Blanco, who died August 18th, 2019, 119 days after her 77th birthday, on a date with 38 numerology. I also informed people about the rapper known as Fifth Ward Weeby, who died at age 42 days before his upcoming birthday, just days before LSU won the championship with 42 points in the city known as NOLA, N-O-L-A, a predominantly black city, equating to 42 with simple English the same as 5. Okay? written as the word, F-I-V-E, written as the word, equates to 42, Fifth Ward, Weeby, okay? He died January 9th, 2020, and was born February 19th, 1977. Okay. Furthermore, I taught the New Orleans locals how his name Weeby, W-E-E-B-I-E, his name Weeby equated to 113, the same as LSU Tigers, who won the championship on January 13th, or 1/13, like 113. Even further, I taught them his birth name was Jerome Cozy, Jeromecosey, Jerome Cozy, summing to 133, the same as football. All right. Beyond that, I reminded them that his hit song was titled Let Me Find Out, equating to 54 and 144, the same as New Orleans and Jesuit order. And please keep in mind, New Orleans is home to the Jesuit University of Loyola. Okay? Well, University Loyola. On top of that, I did my best to help people see through the suspicious death of Carly McCord. And that's CarleyMcCord. The suspicious death of Carly McCord, the daughter-in-law of the LSU's offensive coordinator Steve Ensminger, who died in a plane crash. His daughter-in-law, Carly, died in a plane crash on the same day LSU advanced to the college championship. Man, I also helped them connect the riddles relating to the two plane crashes, Nancy Parker's and Carly McCord's, telling the people who listened to keep in mind plane crash equates to 97, the same as death, and in the case of the deaths being sacrifices for LSU's championship outcome, the names Burrow and Oregon equate to 97 as well. The surnames of LSU's quarterback and coach. And on the subject of 97, I also let them know that Capricorn sums to 97, and the game was in the time of Capricorn, as was McCord's fatal plane crash. And looking back, something that didn't seem as important then as it does now is the name McCord. McCord. McCord sums to 56, same as Ed Oregon. And he finished the 2019-20 season with 56 wins as a college football coach in a year that would become much about 56, as you well know, from coronavirus to Black Lives Matter. In light of 56 being a number of the Society of Jesus, let us not forget that the state of Louisiana became part of the U.S. with the Louisiana Purchase, involving France, the home of the Jesuits, who were formed in Paris. In addition to those tragic stories, I educated about the death of Tyshawn Dye, a former running back for Clemson, who reportedly drowned July 5th, 2019, exactly 192 days before the championship date was scheduled for January 13, 2020. As I pointed out, when the news of his death broke on July 6, 2019, Clemson would be in the championship again, because Clemson Tigers equates to 75 and 192, matching the 7/5 death 192 days before the game. There was likely a historical joke in there that went over my head as well, because Louisiana Purchase also equates to 75 and 192. At the same time, keep in mind, Weeby's birthday was 19/2, like 192, okay? So his birthday is February 19th, but you can write it 19/2, like 192. And you have to understand, Clemson had a similar ritual with the death of C.J. Fuller the year prior, who died October 3rd. He died October 3rd, 2018, 97 days before the January 7th, 2019 college football championship that Clemson won over Alabama. They said he died from a seizure, equating to 103, matching his date of death, October 3rd, 10/3. And the fact that 103 is the 27th prime and Clemson equates to 27, and he wore the number 27, and they went on to win the championship on a date with 27 numerology in Santa Clara, equating to 27. Oh my God. Okay. Sadly, it says, and sadly, you must realize these things take place every single sports season, college and pro, as I have been educating about for 7 straight years. They are not uncommon, and this was the same point I was attempting to make to the people of Louisiana, and this is the same point I am attempting to make to you. Absolutely. What I want to transition to now is what I refer to as the organic side of the code, meaning the synchronicity with the numbers we have in our own lives, because that is what this chapter is really about. As we move ahead, keep in mind, Hermeticism teaches that synchronicity is confirmation from the Creator that we are on the right path. Furthermore, by understanding this subject, which you will soon be able to test with examples in your own life, you will gain understanding as to why the Cabal uses numbers. You'll understand why the Cabal uses numbers ritualistically in the way they do, because as you will come to understand, numbers are for purposes greater than just counting, and in my estimation, they are here to provide meaning to our lives and to answer questions surrounding the mysterious qualities of our existence. It is to say, they are spiritual, and it should remind us that the 4th book of the Holy Bible is entitled Numbers. Well, it's titled Numbers, okay? To make the case, I will talk about a few things that happened to me while I was educating about these same subjects in Louisiana. For example, after landing in New Orleans at about 2:30 a.m. local time, January 31st, after several flight delays, I then had to pick up a rental car and drive to Baton Rouge, a little more than an hour away, where the LSU campus is located. When I arrived in Baton Rouge, it was nearly 4 a.m., and as I pulled off the freeway for the campus exit, I saw there was a Red Roof Inn, so I parked in their lot and asked the man at the front desk for a room. The rate was reasonable, so I paid, and he handed me a room key, and it was for room 131. I had to laugh. When I did, the man asked me what was so funny. I imagine he was half worried some late night psychotic had came through the door. I went on to explain to him what gematria was and how the word championship sums to 131 with simple English, and how LSU had just won the championship on January 13th, a date that can be written 13/1 like 131, and I was down there to educate about the darker rituals connected to LSU's championship season. To make a long story short, by the time we finished talking, it was 6:30 in the morning, and another person had been awoken to the code. And for the record, 131 is a number that comes up all the time in rigged sports championships, as I've also been educating about for years. Case in point, in addition to the word championship, Super Bowl also sums to 131 with simple English, and that is true of the word 57 as well, which matters because both World Series and NBA Finals equate to 57, another number to watch for in the world of rigged sports, reminding us of what we learned with the Nationals giving the Astros their 57th postseason loss in the same game the Nationals won the 115th World Series. Back on the subject of room 131. I stayed in it for 3 days during the time I was busy walking the LSU campus and talking to hundreds, if not thousands, of students, including members of the LSU football team, as well as some staff about the topics at hand. From the experience, I will always remember the eyes of the athletes I looked into, who I could tell were grasping what I was warning them about, that they could be the next Tyshawn Dye. Sadly, he is one of many names in a long list of ritual sacrifices over the years pertaining to major sporting events. I will also remember the compliment I received from a professor at the university who, after talking to him and his colleague for at least 30 minutes, said, "I normally don't care for conspiracy, but your research but your research and documentation is very compelling, and I will look into it. Thank you very much." Sadly, he was not willing to be recorded on video with his thoughts, but I can't blame him because in this world we live in now, there are consequences for pursuing truth. I will also remember Cade, C-A-D-E, the first gentleman to show up spontaneously and let me know he was a follower of mine on YouTube, and he was there to help educate, and he did. I will also always remember Jeremy, who drove all the way from West Texas to help me get the word out, and he was tremendous in doing so, traveling with me from Baton Rouge to New Orleans for the same mission. It was especially nice to see his face because I had known his voice for years from my radio show, a slow-spoken gentleman who had become a regular caller after winning big on Super Bowl 50, having taken my advice in October of that season. What was cool is in the season of Super Bowl 54, Jeremy and I had the opportunity to put our heads together and be right about the outcome of the game before it happened, and then watch it happen in the company of each other, while at the same time educating those around us about how the rigging of the game was encoded and achieved in real time. This was made easier when the first interception of Super Bowl 54 was made by number 21 because I happened to be wearing my custom-made Super Bowl 49 t-shirt, educating about how on the date of Super Bowl 49, February 1st, 2015, emphasis on 2/1, on the second down and 1 to go, Russell Wilson's 21st pass was intercepted by number 21 on the Patriots with 21 seconds left, sealing the game in favor of New England. On that same t-shirt, it also shows how pick, P-I-C-K, equates to 21 with Pythagorean gematria, the terminology for an interception. You might recall that was the game Russell Wilson could have handed off to Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line, but didn't, throwing the interception instead, ensuring the scripted win for the Patriots. And I watched that game, and I did not know what gematria was on. I was like, oh my God, I was just on the floor. I was like, oh no, what? Yeah, man, that was just a crazy game. Look, just like last night's game, I did watch it with some friends of mine. And that ending of that game, how The guy's getting ready to kick the field goal to win the game. I forget who was playing. The Seahawks and the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. And the guy kicks the field goal, and his coach on the sideline like, wait, but he made the field goal, and then the next field goal he misses it. I'm like, just stupid. Even though the Cardinals did go ahead to win the game, I did think the Seahawks were going to win, but I hadn't seen the video that Zach had uploaded about the Pope picking his the first black cardinal ever in U.S. history. I'm like, oh. And then the game makes sense why they did it in such dramatic fashion, to make a team that's not that good beat a team that shouldn't lose at all. It's just ridiculous. So, but anywho, continuing with the read. I mean, this stuff is just really ridiculous. Okay, as for the Louisiana trip, I will also remember all the others who showed up and helped out and did their part to bring this information into people's lives so we can change the course we are on. And of course, I will remember many of the faces and conversations that I had with people, young and old, about the topics I went to Louisiana to discuss, including the gentleman who said he felt this knowledge was going to change the world for the better. I won't forget Billy either, a real-life Forrest Gump, who was the groundskeeper at LSU, who got into a spirited debate with me before coming around and realizing he had some homework to do, because something certainly was eerie and seemingly beyond coincidence with the things I had to share regarding the rituals that pertained to the 2020 College Football Championship, especially the part about Billy Cannon dying the day Joe Burrow signed with LSU, and Joe Burrow going on to join Billy Cannon as the only LSU player to ever win the Heisman or beat Clemson in a championship in New Orleans. And yes, if you're wondering, Billy was the very last person I talked to at LSU, a detail that couldn't have been any more fitting and tying in perfectly with the synchronicity of things. If you're familiar with Squire D. Rushnell, he'd say this detail about Billy in terms of what happened during my trip to Louisiana is when God winks at you. That is also the title of Rushnell's best-selling book, having a subtitle, How God Speaks Directly to You Through the Power of Coincidence. And to think, little did I know then that after being given room key number 131 on January 31st, or 1/31, and finishing my time at LSU with Billy, that the most meaningful coincidence was still yet to come. As soon as I concluded with 3 days of educating in Baton Rouge, I traveled back to New Orleans to spend the next 3 days with the good people of that city to educate about the same matters. And let me say, just as it went well in Baton Rouge, it went well in New Orleans. And as someone from the Pacific Northwest visiting the South for the first time, I got to see that Southern hospitality was a very real thing, and so were grits, something my mother told me I needed to try. Anyhow, when I arrived in town, I wanted to be in the 5th Ward for the sake of Weeby, so I found a hotel there, which happened to be the Trim, Treme, the Trim, at 1933 Ursulines Avenue, and that is spelled Ursulines Avenue, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm not sure, but it sounds like that should be the Trim at 1933 Ursulines Avenue. When I asked for a room, they put me in number 201 at the top of the stairs, and my initial thought was, well, that's not as exciting as room 131. But that thought was soon changed. But that thought was soon to be changed in the most significant of ways. Okay, that's because within an hour of checking into the room, an unknown phone number began texting my personal cell phone, telling me to research Event 201. I have to admit, I was a bit creeped out because I felt that someone was playing a game with me and they knew I was staying in room number 201. Eventually, the text messages turned to phone calls, but I didn't pick up or respond. Like I said, I was a little on edge, and it was late at night, and I was in a strange city, and I was spilling the beans in a neighborhood about the killing of a man in that very neighborhood in a ritual for the college football championship that had just been played weeks earlier in that same city. Soon after, however, I started to see messages from the followers of my work telling me that there was a man on YouTube by the name of Dr. Paul Cottrell uploading videos to his own channel, asking people in his community to please contact me for the purpose of having me research Event 201 in relation to the coronavirus outbreak. It turned out he was the same person who had come about my phone number and had been texting and calling me shortly after. I checked into room number 201. My God. When I asked him how he came about my number, he said a friend of his had it. And since I had been doxxed so many times, I assumed a lot of people had my phone number, and I didn't make a big deal about it. What made the matter all the more strange, however, is that his title, Dr. Paul Cottrell, equated to 201, and even further, his name was identical to the Jesuit order in 3 out of 4 ciphers. At the same time, Paul Cottrell alone was identical to coronavirus in 2 out of the 4 ciphers. And of course, he was asking me to research Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation in relation to the supposed actual coronavirus outbreak. And he was the first person in the world to ask me to do so. When I asked him about the gematria of his own name, he said it was just a coincidence. Okay? And as much as I don't like the word, anything is possible. That said, my take on the matter is that it was synchronicity. And in case you have not read it, let me recommend the book to you titled The Celestine Prophecy, a book that echoes the teachings of Hermeticism in the sense that it teaches what some people call coincidence is really confirmation from the Creator that you are on the right path and you are pursuing the right things. And let me also note, long before I knew anything about gematria or even the existence of the book of the Celestine Prophecy, I felt this to be the truth, and that is why I now recommend the book as good reading to you, along with the teachings of Hermeticism. As for my own book, as I conclude writing it, about 6 months since being encountered by Paul Cottrell, what I can now confirm is that I am so grateful for his recommendation and the synchronicity of the staying in room number 201 at the time of his contact, because it truly helped me advance this research and identify the tip of the spear in terms of who is in control of the New World Order. To think I had not been in room number 201 stirring up a personal curiosity for myself. Oh, let me reread that. It said, to think, had I not been in room number 201, stirring up a personal curiosity for myself regarding the number, it might have made me less likely to follow through with the suggestion of researching Event 201. And it is possible that without his tip, this book would have never happened, because prior to his request, I did not recognize the significance of the number 201. And on the subject of synchronicity, it has been very peculiar for me to find out in the time of my research that the Jesuits were suppressed in history by their own Pope, July 21st, 1773, a date that 210 years later would become my birthday. And on the subject of 210 years, Wuhan coronavirus does have gematria up to 10. And again, it was through this Wuhan coronavirus outbreak that was simulated at event 201 that made all of this possible. At the same time, let us not overlook that 210, 201, and 21 all have the same key digits, 2 and 1 for 21, the number syncing with the gematria values of Bible, Jesuit, and math, as well as the 21st day of July. And in light of the number 21 being the sixth triangular number and synchronicity, I should tell you one more thing about 6 because it is important. And it reveals to me that perhaps there is such a thing as destiny. After moving to Seattle at the end of 2006, I got the deal of a lifetime on a great apartment because I was in the right place at the right time. It was right across the street from a good friend and at half the cost of comparable units in the area, and it was close to a park. Sadly, however, the park was just temporary because soon after I had moved to the neighborhood, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation began construction on their headquarters that was built over the park, something that seems highly symbolic now. As for the number 6, the magical apartment was located at the address 211 Valley Street, number 6, and little did I know how relevant those numbers were then, with the key focus not being to 11, the 47th prime, in Seattle on the 47th parallel north, but number 6. Adding to the riddle, I stayed in that apartment until the day I bought my first home, which was a process that closed on a Friday, January 13th, 2012, where 13 is the 6th prime number. I felt that once again I had been blessed receiving the keys to address 6232 Second Place Southwest in Bothell. And yes, the house number was just 6. And as was the case with my apartment, I got a very nice place to live in a great location at a very great value. And making matters even more interesting, it was in that same home where I discovered gematria in August of 2013, shortly after observing how the town of Bothell seemed to be under some sort of trance at the annual July 4th celebration in the only 2 years I had ever attended it, something I pointed out to my sweet lady in both occasions. As for the interesting part about discovering gematria in Bothell, in addition to making the observation about the townspeople on 7-4, it is that Bothell equates to 74 with simple English, the same as simple. The same as simple English and gematria. So the word simple, the word English, and the word gematria equates to 74. And yes, if you're wondering, that is the same house that had a car crash through the side of it on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2016, what was possibly the strangest day of my life while I was 33 years old after more than 3 straight years of educating about gematria and the pattern of 33 and 74 in relation to Jesus. With regards to gematria itself, I can't get that sentence out. With regards to gematria itself, I still remember when it was new to me and how I felt as though I had finally found what was hidden under my nose. Absolutely, because that's how I feel too. My God, I still do feel that way. And looking back, I wish in 2006, emphasis on '06, someone would have tipped me off to Mr. Bill Gates, Mr. 666, Mr. Number of the Beast, and what devious intentions he had for us, along with the cabal he is a member of, or perhaps better said, puppet of. I wish they would have also tipped me off to gematria as well. Had I known either, I would have been out on the corner every day making noise, raising awareness, and been 14 years ahead of where I am now. But as they say, better late than never, and the time is now. And the time is now, truth seeker. And we need to make up for lost time and stop overlooking our duty and what responsibility lies before us. That is ending this cabal and ending tyranny with it, while restoring decency and humanity and moral behavior. And we can do it with the pages of this book if we will it. And with regards to overlooking, I should have seen it back in 2007, because when the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation came into Seattle, they came with a destructive act, destroying a public park, a beautiful place to build another building in a city full of buildings. Truly, in that single move, it showed what the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was, something that was not positive, and as we understand now, something sinister. Absolutely. That's why it seems so strange that all these years later, I'm writing this book with all these seemingly unrelated parts becoming part of one full circle. For another meaningful synchronicity, adding to the full circle, if you will, I must share with you what happened on July 29th, 2020, the first day of Tisha B'Av. It was a date I had to wait to see what would transpire on before I could hand this book over to the publisher. And I am glad I did, because it was eventful. As you'll recall, Tisha B'Av, also known as the 9th of Av, is to remember the destruction of the two temples. Every year, without fail, there is an act of destruction and tragedy reported on Tisha B'Av in the form of a riddle. For example, in 2019, it was the attack of Muslim worshippers on Temple Mount with tear gas by Israeli police, and in 2018 it was the mass shooting in Toronto's Greek town. In the case of 2020, it was the terrible train wreck in Tempe, Arizona, a town that sounds much like Temple. As for how this most recent Tisha B'Av event synchronizes with me, I was attending Arizona State University in Tempe the day of September 11th, 2001, when this journey I'm now on began, and it was some time after that where I recognized the significance of Tisha B'Av in regards to the events of September 11, 2001, a subject I have taught about continuously ever since, including how Tisha B'Av equates to 9/11 with Jewish gematria. Regarding the July 29, 2020 train wreck in Tempe, it should be noted it occurred on a date with 76 numerology, corresponding with the gematria of Tempe, equating to 76. And in light of the accusation that the Catholic Church is pulling the strings, this train wreck, it was further confirmation that this is the case. Consider, Arizona State University equates to 104, the same as Roman Catholic Church. And both Sun Devils and Catholic equate to 35, reminding us of number 35, JFK's assassination, on a sunny day in Dallas. And even further, ASU was established March 12, 1885, the 71st day of the year, also corresponding with Catholic. Furthermore, the train crashed into Tempe Town Lake, equating to 191, the same as Society of Jesus, reminding us of the deceased Adolfo Nicolas on Arturo Sosa's 191st day of his age, as well as many other things. And with regards to the name Sun Devils, let us not forget the logo of the Jesuits, the sun, or that it is the Catholic Church that is closely responsible for making the Christian day of worship Sunday. Yep. The lone day of the week having gematria of 33, similar to how Tempe is on the 33rd parallel north. Adding insult to injury, CNN marketed the story of the crash with the headline, "A Scene from Hell," equating to 71, the same as the word hell itself and the word Catholic. At the same time, let us not forget that CNN operates from the 33rd parallel north and the 84th meridian west, the latter coordinate corresponding with the gematria of Jesuit, as well as Arizona, both equating to 84 and 42. Regarding CNN's Jesuit parallels, and to contrast the contrived side of the code with the organic side, I highly doubt it was by the grace of God that CNN's co-founder, Reese Schoenfeld, died on July 28, 2020, 266 days after his November 5th, 2019 birthday. Let us not forget November 5th, Guy Fawkes Day, leaves 56 days left in the year, and where Society of Jesus, Psalms 256. Isus hominum salvator, their motto, Psalms 266. Let us not forget Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope, the 266th Pope, and the man born December 17, 1936, a date with 84 numerology, who happens to be in his 84th year of his life at the time of this death. Speaking of which, the death of Schoenfeld was 224 days after Pope Francis's birthday, where the divisors of 84 sum to 224. At the same time, 224 days is 32 weeks on the nose, reminding of the number of sun rays on the Jesuit logo. And might I suggest that in the same way the Washington Redskins are changing their name, perhaps to the true title of the perhaps the true title of the Pope should become the Sun Devil. Absolutely, they are the devils. In case you haven't noticed yet, Pope and devil are identical with simple English and Pythagorean gematria, because they are devils. With all things being good and bad, I must say that I feel more fulfilled than I ever have in my life in these times of uncertainty, only because I know that the things I have been working towards since the time of September 11, 2001, and really even before that, have been justified and necessary, as difficult as they have been. Absolutely. I'm so glad you presented this information, Zach, because I can see clearly what is going on. It's just crazy. Alrighty. As I've been saying this entire time, if we don't stop the cabal, it is going to be very bad news for us in the end. And as bad as things are at this very crucial moment, I am as hopeful as ever, because their art of war, if you will, is exposed. And I know that once enough people know about the shenanigans they're up to, things are going to change, and fast. Altogether, it makes me feel that I found my life's purpose, and I achieved it by being true to myself and not being afraid of my many critics or the obstacles that have come at me, including the loss and support of friends. No, I'm sorry. He said, including the lost support of friends, family, and colleagues. It's why sometimes when I look at Revelation 21:7, something like my 21:7 birthday, a tear forms in my eye. It reads, "He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son." Thus it speaks to perseverance, and that is the word that defines what it takes to go after the truth in this world. Perseverance is also the word that has defined my life, one that has been full of challenges, especially in the time of getting this research out to the world, where I have been harassed, followed, burglarized, jailed, censored, and even had a car crash through the walls of my home on Christmas Eve, something that happened December 24th, 2016, while I was 33 years old, that magical age. And don't even get me started on the FBI agent coming to my house on August 21st, 2018, the anniversary of the release of the film Hitman, about Agent 47, only to falsely accuse me of things I never did. I know now it was an intimidation tactic to try to get me to quit this work, but thanks to you, Truth Seeker, I didn't quit, and I kept pushing forward for the purpose of getting this work to where it now is, truly undeniable and to be taken notice of. Absolutely, absolutely. For the person out there who is interested in finding the numbers that relate to their own life, this is what I suggest you do. Using the Pythagorean cipher, decode your own name as well as the name of the people in your family, from your parents to your significant other, to your siblings, to your children, to your friends. Be consistent in how you decode, and decode the full names of the people you look at. Okay? In addition to that, examine the birthdays of these same people and extract the birth numerology as well. You should be amazed by what you find. Using myself as an example, I was born July 21st, 1983, what happens to be the date of the coldest recorded temperature in the history of such recordings, where the temperature was measured at 89 degrees below Celsius. This is interesting because my full name, Zachary K. Hubbard, as well as my father's full name, Timothy Stephen Hubbard, equates to 89 with Pythagorean. At the same time, my mother's birthday is September 8th, a date written 8-9 in the majority of the world. Making this even more interesting, my father's full name sums to 251 with simple English, and my mother's birthday is the 251st day of the year. At the same time, from his birthday, April 18th, to her birthday, September 8th, is a span of 144 days, the 12th Fibonacci number, following 89, the 11th Fibonacci number. To get even more specific about it, he says to get even more specific about it, 251 is the 54th prime, and baseball equates to 54, the sport that brought my mother and father together. It only figures then that my dad's birthday is the 108th day of the year, matching the count of double stitches on a baseball. And in the same way my dad taught me to love baseball, he taught me to love numbers. Perhaps then it is not a coincidence both of our names sum to 89, and the word number equates to 89 as well. So yes, you can use the base ciphers in addition to Pythagorean, but it is best you start with that one. And if you do move to another, the next most logical is simple English. For my best personally, I have been called Zach Hubbard by most people for all of my life. A name that sums to 94 with simple English and 49 with Pythagorean, the latter number corresponding with my birth numerology. Making these numbers all the more interesting, my dad was born April 18, 1953, a date with 94 numerology, and my birthday comes 94 days after his and 49 days before my mother. This is just some amazing stuff. But you know, I went to see Zach at Gonzaga. Me and two other friends of mine, and one of the ladies, Debbie's friend. I'm sorry, I can't think of her name right now. But when she saw Zach, she knew we were going to see Zachary K. Hubbard. But when she saw Zach, I swear she called him Josh. And she was like, "Why did I call you Josh?" Well, just like you said, people that called him Josh. But you see, I have been called Zach Hubbard by most people for all of my life. Okay, well, Zach, but I thought he was going to talk about being called Josh. But yeah, someone called him Josh at one time, so that was, I thought that was pretty amazing. Even though he said Zach here, I'm sorry, I was thinking about Josh, but she did call him Josh, and that was funny. Alrighty. Okay, and I haven't even mentioned my sister yet. Okay. Her and I have the same mother but different fathers, and we have grown up to be total opposites, perhaps something that was foretold through our dates of birth. Her birthday is Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, and mine is July 21st. Thus, 7/12 and 21/7. Dates that are reflections of each other, okay, or opposites. And please realize, not a single thing I have told you is false, and none of it was planned. It just is what it is, and it's organic. The reason I have decided to close the book with this information is for multiple reasons. For starters, I want people to understand the belief within Kabbalah that God created the world through numbers, letters, and words. As strange as it sounds, is entirely possible. And I would argue I am living proof, and you likely are as well. Furthermore, I want you, the reader, to take greater interest in the work and join me in terms of becoming part of the decoding community, connecting the dots that are not yet connected from the organic side of the code to the contrived side where the Cabal specializes. And rest assured, despite working 7 years straight at the task of understanding and comprehending this knowledge, I know I have only just begun. It is to say, this research is in its infancy, and I need your help. He needs your help. Another reason I am concluding the book this way is because it is healthy to always challenge yourself and your beliefs. A question I have often been asked over the years is if there is an organic side to the code. How can we be certain that everything we are witnessing isn't organic, from 9/11 to coronavirus? It is a fair question, and my response is often along the lines of, you have to use discernment. Absolutely. My goodness, you should know when something is happening organically and when something is being forced. I mean, that's alrighty, here we go. For example, great, here's a good example. When the Sandy Hook school shooting happened, the image shown of Adam Lanza made many people lift an eyebrow because his image looked like a contrived face made by an amateur with Photoshop, and it really freaking did. Then began the needless reporting that he was 112 pounds, again a number connecting to the gematria of Sandy Hook, and the date numerology of the Dunblane massacre, March 13, 1996, that resulted in gun rights being taken away in the UK after first graders were targeted, the same as at Sandy Hook. Okay? plus the number connected to Lanza's birthday being April 22nd, the 112th day of the year, and his initials AL equating to 1 and 12. A the first letter, L the 12th letter. 112, okay? Then on top of that, 112 is the alt Dowling code for 9/11, and that incident set in motion a type of buzz in the U.S. that hadn't been felt since 9/11, the date of the big national emergency in 2001, where it was a clear numerical riddle and a clear lie. That definitely wasn't the work of God, but was the work of psychopaths who want to be like God. At least that is how I see it, and I think that is how any sane person should. Absolutely, these freakers are, that God complex like their doctors. Man. To close, I want to say a few more things. First, please don't let numbers make you paranoid. If you see a number in your own name that was discussed in this book, do not fret. It is a fact of life that all things are dualistic, meaning good and bad, and that includes numbers. Second, when you start decoding news stories for yourself, don't overdo it. What I mean is, look first for the numbers that are what it says. Look first for the numbers that are being reported in the story, and then see how the key details are encoded, such as the key names, locations, and dates. As a rule, I have always started my decodes by looking at what numbers the cabal is putting out through their propaganda and leading from there, such as the clue with 112-pound Adam Lanza, or Gavin Newsom saying 56% of Californians will contract coronavirus, etc. I'm telling you, with your eyes now open to this means of operating, you're not going to miss how it is done going forward, and it should reveal to you what it has revealed to me, and that is, it is being done purposefully for the sake of agenda and seemingly mass rituals that contribute to a massive spell over the populace that must be broken, because if not, we will truly be enslaved to tyranny with no recourse. And for one last thought, I really do hope you will eventually read my first book, Letters and Numbers, because there is so much information within it that will help you comprehend and appreciate the subject of gematria and how it relates to the English language all the more. For example, in this book, we haven't even uncovered one of the English's I messed up this sentence. Let me start over. For example, in this book, we haven't even uncovered one of English's greatest secrets, paying tribute to pi, the number of numbers. If you're not aware, the mathematical shorthand to calculate pi, is to divide 22 by 7. And if you write out the phrase 22 divided by 7 in words, with simple English, it sums to 314, similar to pi, written 3.14. Furthermore, if you write out 360 as words for the number of degrees in a circle that pi relates to, it sums to 227 with simple English, similar to 22 divided by 7. Keep in mind, on a PC, if you type Alt plus 27, it gives you the output of the symbol pi, or that little thing that looks like pi, like a Hebrew letter, or the Jewish writing letter. Okay, and in light of circles and cycles and time, 360 months in 30 years, the age Jesus began his ministry at, and for many of us, a special year in terms of our own lives. As for my mother and my father, they were both 30 years old when I was born, and for me personally, I was 30 years old when I learned of gematria, a subject that has changed my life and answered many questions. So cheers, truth seeker, to gematria and a better future. And it says, last, let me say thank you for taking the time to read this book. It means everything to me, and you are welcome, Zach. And I hope you out there that's listening to me read, you will get these books and read them for yourself as well. Whew. And I hope you do share it with others, because that would mean even more. As they say, each one teach one. Absolutely. And thank you to my family, friends, and fellow truth seekers. I love you, and stay strong. And let's win this fight too, because we need to. Case in point, as I hand this book over to the publisher on August 4th, 2020, a date with 52 numerology, the eastern seaboard of the United States is being flooded by hurricane and tropical storm Isaias, where again, as I wrote about in my first book, where the warfare was first admitted to by the Royal Air Force in 1952, and not by accident, but because hurricane, flood, and earth equate to 52, as does prophecy, which they are contriving. Absolutely. And in this case, the name Isaiah comes from Isaiah in the Bible, the prophet, and where prophecy equates to 106, so does hurricane Isaias, and that is spelled Isaias, okay? At the same time, the storm is reportedly transitioning back and forth between a hurricane and a tropical storm as it travels north on August 4th or 8/4 up the east coast, and not organically, but because of technology. For further evidence of the plotting and who is responsible yet again, Tropical Storm Isaias equates to 84, corresponding with what you learned in the first chapter, and that is Jesuit, the Jesuit order, the Catholic Church, and United States of America equate to 84. Alright, that was the end of chapter 19. So we have the outro of the book. I'm just going to check to see how many pages is this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pages. So we got 5 pages to go, and I will read these 5 pages, and we will be done with Zachary K. Hubbard's fantastic book of letters and numbers. Not letters and numbers, but number games, 9/11 to coronavirus. Okay, so we are on page 361. And the title of the outro is August 4th, 2020, Beirut Explosion and Jesuit Terrorism. Okay. On August 4th, 2020, Beirut was rocked with twin blasts that left a sizable crater in the city's floor. The explosion was treated as somewhat of a mystery, but blamed on fireworks that had been stored in a warehouse. The truth is, this incident was a ritual carried out by the Jesuit order in paying tribute to the October 23rd, 1983 Beirut barracks bombing, the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing, and it wasn't an accident that the more recent explosion came on Barack's birthday, as in Barack Obama, a man having a first name sounding much like Barracks. Absolutely. In addition to Barack and Barracks sounding similar, President Obama equates to 83, like the year of the attack on the American and French barracks, 1983, reminding us that the Jesuits were formed in France and now have their greatest stronghold outside the Vatican in Washington, D.C., where Obama was once the President of the United States. At the same time, let us not overlook that this occurred while Pope Francis, the Jesuit Pope, was 83 years old and in his 84th year of life, being the man born on a date with 84 numerology, December 17, 1936. With regards to Obama, a name also summing to 84 in Jewish gematria, it should be noted that the blast came on his wife Michelle's 201st day of her age, 56, having been born January 17, 1964. And as you know, the Jesuit Order equates to 201 and Society of Jesus equates to 56. And Obama won the 56th U.S. presidential election in 2008. And with regards to the number 201, as we learned earlier, Mars and Rome both equate to 201 with Jewish gematria, and Mars is the Roman god of war, and Tuesday, the day of the blast, is named after the planet Mars. See, my goodness. Understanding that those points are the foundation of the ritual, let us now examine how the four base values of Jesuit factor in, equating to 84, 78, 42, and 21. Of course, the attack took place on August 4th, or 8-4 like 84. At the same time, that date can be expressed as 4/8. An explosion equates to 48 and 42, the latter value corresponding with Jesuit Beirut and birthday, as in Barack Obama's 59th birthday, August 4th, 2020, an age that matches the 59 gematria value of Pope Francis. And with regards to 78, Beirut, Lebanon equates to 78, and on August 4th it was reported that at least 78 people had perished in the explosion. No doubt a severe understatement. In addition to that, it came 78 days before Netanyahu's 71st birthday, October 21st, 2020, the Prime Minister of Israel. The not so friendly neighbor of Lebanon that is under the control of the Vatican. Furthermore, most headlines referred to the event as the Beirut explosion, a phrase equating to 78, 84, and 201. As for the number 21, the attack came 231 days after Pope Francis' 83rd birthday, December 17, 2019, the 21st triangular number, reminding us that Georgetown, equating to 42, was established January 23rd, or 23/1 like 231. Okay, so let me reread that again. So Georgetown, the name Georgetown equates to 42, and it was established January 23rd, or 23/1 like 231. Okay, and with this most recent event having clear parallels to the October 23rd attack in 1983, the 83 incident fell on Sunday, the day of the week, equating to 21, 78, and 84 in the same exact ciphers as Jesuit. Okay. With regards to Georgetown, keep in mind that Saad Hariri, Hariri, the Prime Minister of Beirut, who left office on January 21st, 2020, a date with 42 numerology, is an alumni of Georgetown. Making this detail all the more interesting is that his full name is Sayyid el-Din Rafiq al-Hariri. And I am terribly sorry if I am mispronouncing this devil's name, but I will spell it. Let's go. S-A-A-D, that's his first name. E-L-D-I-N, Rafiq, R-A-F-I-K, A-L-H-A-R-I-R-I. Saad el-Din Rafiq al-Ahiri, okay, equating to 109 with Pythagorean. And in 2020, his April 18th birthday fell on the 109th day of the year, and the explosion came on his 109th day of his age. Oh my gosh. This number pattern stands out because the word military equates to 109, and if you've seen the explosions with your own eyes, it looks as if the second blast was the result of a military grade weapon. As for his abbreviated name, which he went by as Prime Minister Saad Hariri, it equates to 52, the same as Pope, and the attack, which it is fair to call, fell on August 4th, 2020, a date with 52 numerology. Man, these people are horrible, wicked people. On the subject of 52, the incident came on Donald Trump's 52nd day of his age, and he said the incident looked like an attack as well. Plus, President equates to 52. As we learned earlier, him and Pope Francis are attached at the hip, having birthdays a span of 187 days apart, corresponding with Society of Jesus equating to 187, and the fact that Donald Trump became president-select, he got president-elect in 2016. 52 years after attending the Jesuit school Fordham. Furthermore, fireworks equates to 52, and that is what was blamed for the explosion, as ridiculous as it sounds. Even further, the structure that was the source of the blast was reported as being a fireworks warehouse, equating to 239, the 52nd prime number, and 95. As you know, the number 95 is highly symbolic to the Jesuits, as are the numbers 56 and 119. The latter two also corresponding with the gematria of fireworks. It reminds us that Vatican and Francis equate to 119, and both Notre Dame and Al-Aqsa Mosque. It is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It burned on April 15th, 2019, 119 days after Pope Francis's birthday, corresponding with a gematria of fire ritual, as well as equating to 119 and 56, the latter number like Pope, as well as Society of Jesus. Of course, the April 15, 2019 ritual was in tribute to the Knights Templar, who are responsible for the construction of Notre Dame and who used Al-Aqsa Mosque as their base when they took over Jerusalem during the Crusades, referring to it as Solomon's Temple. It is for this same reason the site is called Temple Mount today, where the false ones intend to build their third temple at the time of the Jewish Messiah. And please don't overlook that Temple Mount equates to 46, the same as Catholic, the church responsible for the establishment of modern Israel and for forming the belief that Temple Mount is the destined location for the coming Jewish temple that is part of biblical prophecy. Once again, the cabal equating to 52 is contriving prophecy. These lying bastards sure are. Also equating to 52. And as we know, they're doing it by the code, one act of terrorism at a time. I like that. One act of terrorism at a time. Absolutely, Zach. These bastards, oh my God. In that breath, let us not forget that terrorist equates to 52. Or that Osama bin Laden was reportedly killed on May 2nd, 2011. Emphasis on 5-2 like 52. A span of 119 weeks from Obama becoming the U.S. president. And regarding Osama and 19-year cycles, he once said his inspiration to attack the U.S. in 2001 was the 1982 invasion of Lebanon by Israel that ended September 29th, the day leaving 93 days in the year. As for contriving prophecy, the August 4th explosion fell on the day leaving 149 days left in the year, corresponding with the gematria of Revelation, the book of prophecy, as well as Antichrist, the entity the Catholic Church serves. And let us recall, 149 is the 35th prime, and Catholic equates to 35, plus Beirut is on the 35th meridian east. And with regards to the explosion coming on Obama's 59th birthday, recall that Revelation also equates to 59. Furthermore, let us not forget that Obama took office as president in 2009 at age 47, with the 47th Vice President Joe Biden, and their birthdays measuring from Biden's on November 20th to Obama's on August 4th are 258 days apart, where beast equates to 47 and number of the beast equates to 258. In addition to that, in all years except leap years, August 14th is the 216th day of the year, the product of 6 times 6 times 6, where 666 is the number of the beast. With that said, in a leap year, August 4th is the 217th day of the year, corresponding with the gematria of Whore of Babylon. What is the source of evil that is named in Revelation 17, where 59 is the 17th prime number? In addition to Whore of Babylon equating to 217, it also sums to 71, the latter being the same as Catholic. Man. Woo, these people. It reminds us that days before the Beirut blast, the good Catholic Regis Philbin died July 24th, 2028 date with 71 numerology, before being buried at Notre Dame, his Catholic alma mater, equating to 95 on July 31st, 2028 date with 78 numerology, the latter two numbers corresponding with the Jesuits. In light of the Catholic and Jesuit trail we're following, it is worth pointing out that in the October 23rd, 1983 attack on the barracks, it was reported 75 people were injured. Not by chance, Catholic Church and New World Order equate to 75, and so does Beirut, explaining why the city is a target for Catholic and Jesuit rituals, having the right name and the right coordinates, not to mention it is predominantly Muslim. At the same time, the October 23rd attack was on the day leaving 69 days in the year, and Catholic Church, New World Order, and the Jesuit order each equate to 69. Beyond that, Beirut also equates to 87, like the Catholic Church, and number of the beast, shedding more light on why Obama with the beast connections became part of the riddle with the explosive tragedy in Lebanon's capital city. And in light of what we learned earlier about Naya Rivera's very Jesuit related death that involved the numbers 33 and 87, I should note Beirut is on the 33rd parallel north, and the August 4th explosion came precisely 33 weeks after Pope Francis's birthday. Of course, the Catholic Church is abbreviated CC or 33. Furthermore, October is the lone month, having gematria of 33. And when you add 10 plus 23, you get 33. Okay? And for one last point, on the October 23rd attack, it fell on a date with numerology of 54, 116, and 135, corresponding with the gematria of Jesuit order equating to 54. The Jesuit motto, Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam, equating to 116, and the fact that the August 4th, 2020 attack came 135 days after Pope Francis's 84th birthday. Coming back to the August 4th attack, the bomb went off right next to St. George Bay. And this is fascinating for a couple of key reasons. First of all, St. George Bay equates to 67 with Pythagorean gematria, the 19th prime number, connecting to the gematria of chaos equating to 19, and reminding us that the phrase order out of chaos equates to 78, the same as Beirut, Lebanon. At the same time, it was reported the explosions began at 6:07 p.m. local time, which is the 1807th minute of the day, not far off from Society of Jesus, equating to 187. In addition to the gematria, as we learned earlier, St. George's Cross is what is shown on the 20th tarot card, the judgment card, and this explosion occurred in 2020. With regards to judgment, the planet Saturn equates to 69 and 93, and as we have learned, it symbolizes judgment as well as death. Furthermore, the explosion was blamed on the firework ingredient ammonium nitrate, equating to 69 and 93 as well. For the record, that is also what the bomb was reportedly made out of in the 93 World Trade Center bombing that was blamed on the Blind Sheik, a title equating to 93. And since this entire ritual is coordinated with Pope Francis, let us not forget that his birthday is on December 17th. The day that Saturnalia is celebrated on, the festival for the planet Saturn. At the same time, let us not forget that both Saturn and Jesuit equate to 21 with Pythagorean gematria, and this explosion came 231 days after Pope Francis' birthday, the 21st triangular number. For another 67 connection, it is Peter Klovenbach, equating to 67, who was the 29th Superior General of the Jesuits, who died in Beirut on November 26, 2016, the day leaving 35 days in the year, and on the 35th meridian east, just 4 days before his birthday, having been born November 30th, 1928. That means he died at age 87, corresponding with Beirut and the Catholic Church, as well as number of the beast. Keep in mind, Arturo Sosa had just become Superior General on October 14th, 2016, the day leaving 78 days in the year, corresponding with the gematria of Beirut, Lebanon, and Jesuit. Furthermore, Klovenbach died 43 days after Sosa assumed the position, corresponding with the gematria of Jesus Christ, or on the 44th day of Sosa being the Superior General, where kill and execution equate to 44. Also, in light of what we learned earlier about the 109 ritual, with Georgetown grad and former Lebanese Prime Minister Saad Hariri, I hope I'm pronouncing it, Saadhari, okay? Saad Hariri. 109 is the 29th prime number, corresponding with the fact that the 29th Superior General died in Beirut. So, and I want to read that one more time so it'd sound right at least. Okay. So, Furthermore, Klobenbach died 43 days after Sosa assumed the position corresponding with the gematria of Jesus Christ, or on the 44th day of Sosa being the superior general, where kill and execution equate to 44. Also, in light of what we learned earlier about the 109 ritual with Georgetown grad and former Lebanese Prime Minister Saad Hariri, 109 is the 29th prime number, corresponding with the fact that the 29th superior general died in Beirut. For the clincher, and ensuring that there can be no doubt, the Jesuits are responsible for everything exposed in this outro, as well as everything else exposed in this entire book. The August 4th explosion came 266 days after Arturo Sosa's 71st birthday on November 12, 2019. The current superior general of the Jesuits, corresponding with the Jesuit motto, Ius Hominum Salvator, equating to 266, and the fact that Pope Francis is the first pope and the 266th pope in the history of the Catholic Church. So please, for the sake of humanity, help me to end the cabal that is the whore of Babylon. It is righteous. It is absolutely righteous to get these devils out of here. And this is the end of Zachary K. Hubbard's book, this phenomenal book. Number games, 9/11 to coronavirus. Man, this book is just awesome. As you just heard, the information in his books are undeniable, and I want to tell you now how to get both of his books. So his book, Number Games, you visit his YouTube channels, Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports, and in the description of each video that he produces, he leaves a link for you to purchase the book. The book, Letters and Numbers, is only $5, the best $5 you will ever spend in your life, because the information he provides in that book you will not get anywhere else. You will not get this information anywhere else. This book will come to you as a PDF file, so when you get the email, be sure to save the book, the file entitled Letters and Numbers. Be sure you save that file, Letters and Numbers, to the hard drive of your phone, your computer, your tablet, or whatever you're going to be using, so that you will always have access to the book later, because if you delete the email, you will delete the book. So make sure you open the file, like tap on it, open it, and then you send it to where you want to save it on your phone. Zachary K. Hubbard left the copyright off this book, Letters and Numbers, so that you can have it bound into a book for your personal library. You can do that by uploading the book to lulu.com, and they will bind it into a book and mail it back to you. You can contact your local bindery and email it to them, or just find out how to get the book to them, and they will bind it into a book for you, because there's no copyright on the book. And there's over 700 pages in this book for $5. You can't beat it. His second book, Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus, the continuation of his first book, Letters and Numbers. This book, visit his blog page, gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com, and for sure, I know you can order the book there. The first thing you'll see when you get to his blog page is the advertising for this book, and as you scroll down, you will see the information on how to purchase this book within the United States and abroad. I believe this book is also available on Barnes & Noble, and I'm not sure everywhere else, but I think it tells you on his blog page the other places that you can get the book. And I think I would say, go to Amazon, but I think Amazon is, messing with the book like we kind of thought they would, because of the infamous date they were releasing it on, October 13th. But anyway, whatever you do, get his books, read these books, listen to me read the book, start your own channel and read these books. This information needs to go forth to every person on this earth, because this is how we are being ruled over. This is what is taking place. It is not something you got to think, is that really what's going on? No, this is what they're doing. It is just simple. But look what it's been doing for all these years. And it is embarrassing to even admit that we know. But I'm just glad to know. It is freeing in my mind to know that this is what's taking place. Gematria, gematria, gematria. Oh my God, and they're ruining so many people's lives right now. They've been doing it forever. But anyway, with that said, enjoy the videos. And I hope you will give the videos a like and a share, and so that someone else can find this information. And do the same, share this information. Anyway, you guys have a good one, and goodbye.